Race number 2 in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series brings us to the site of one of the most fan-favorite racetracks in the circuit, where 1 year ago, the closest 3-wide finish in the history of NASCAR took place right here, laminating this 1.5-mile superspeedway hybrid forever as one of NASCAR's most anticipated events. 39 drivers, full throttle for 400 miles. Let's get it on in the Peach State as MDK RaceDay welcomes you to the Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. It's the Ambetter Health 400. And unlike in Daytona, absolutely beautiful weather going to be in the high 50s with a 1% chance of rain, west-northwest of wind 6 miles an hour through the racetrack, and a low humidity sitting at 35%. And welcome everyone back to an episode of MDK RaceDay. My name is Jet. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Are you ready for some NASCAR racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway? I know I am. Ever since this repave, I'll admit I am wrong. Every single time NASCAR comes to Atlanta, it always puts on a beautiful, beautiful show, and I cannot wait to see what happens here tonight. But let's not waste any time and jump into it with our news and notes. The big story heading into this weekend is, of course, the penalty revolving Chase Briscoe and the number 19 team. They received an L2 penalty after their spoiler was modified, according to NASCAR, following an inspection at their R&D center earlier this week. Now, the L2 penalty follows as such. The team has received a $100,000 fine. Chase Briscoe has been docked 100 driver and owner points, as well as 10 playoff points, and crew chief James Small has been suspended for the next 4 races. Now, the team will appeal that, but at the moment right now, Chase Briscoe goes from 10th to 45th in points, minus 67 below zero. So, more than likely, this penalty will stand, and if so, Chase Briscoe has a long hill to climb from this, but he can make it up here at Atlanta. This is a racetrack where it is not as random or chaotic as Daytona, but weirder things have happened, and a win would certainly make everything a whole hell of a lot easier for his season. With that, let's take a look at the point standings following Daytona. Even though it's 1 race in, 25 races to go in the regular season, it's never too early to take a look at it. Now, even though William Byron did win the race, he's locked into the playoffs. However, Ryan Blaney left Daytona with more points than him. Byron currently sits at 2nd, 1 point behind. Austin Cindric in 3rd, Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman, the top 5. Chris Buescher, Eric Jones, and Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson currently has an asterisk next to his name since he's not competing for the full season. The next time we will see him will be in the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Day weekend. But look at that. Legacy Motor Club 7th, 8th, 9th. Again, even though it's 1 race, they show some speed at Daytona. So it's awesome to see there. John Nemechek in 9th at minus 18 and Chase Elliott the top 10 minus 20. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR and proud sponsor of the Busch Light Pole Award, given to the fastest driver at each NASCAR Cup Series event. Busch Light congratulates Ryan Blaney for his first career pole here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, his first pole since last March at Bristol, and the 11th pole of his career, completing it with a speed of 179.371 miles per hour. Since 2020, Busch Beer has invested more than $70 million in becoming a premier sponsor of the NASCAR Cup Series. So here's a look at the 39 drivers that will compete in the 2024 Ambetter Health 400 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. On the pole alongside Ryan Blaney is Austin Cindric. Look at this top 10. For the first time since Watkins Glen in 2015, 9 of the top 10 starters here in a NASCAR Cup race are all under one manufacturer, that being Ford. Josh Berry and Joey Logano, who won here in the spring of 2023, as well as last fall in 4th. Todd Gillen and Kyle Busch, the lone Chevrolet. He's won in Atlanta, but on the old service back in 2008. Zane Smith and Chris Buescher row 4, and Brad Keselowski and Noah Gragson round out the top 10. Keselowski, another former winner here, but again at the old Atlanta. Row 6, Ryan Preece. This time he's going to try and hope to keep all 4 wheels on the ground, and AJ Allmendinger on the outside. Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace. Austin Dillon, William Byron, the Daytona 500 champion. He has won here back in the spring of 2022 and in the summer of 2023. Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick make up row 9, and Chase Elliott, the summer 2022 Atlanta winner, alongside Ty Dillon in the 10 ride. Row 11 has Justin Haley and John Hunter Nemechek. Cole Custer and Michael McDowell make up row 12. Chase Briscoe with that long, deep hole he has to make up with his L2 penalty. Alongside him is Carson Hocevar. Ricky Riley Herbs alongside Eric Jones, and Daniel Suarez, last year's winner and the closest 3-wide finish in NASCAR history, alongside his teammate Ricky Shane Shane Van Gisbergen. A couple of some big names back at the field, Cody Ware and Christopher Bell. Ross Chastain in the 33rd position alongside Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Corey LaJoie, and Ty Gibbs. Gibbs' teammate Denny Hamlin, 37th position. Absolute shocker how poor his qualifying performance was. And BJ McLeod and JJ Yeley round out the 39 car field. Here's a look at the odds to win the Ambetter Health 400. Ryan Blaney and Joe Logano, both some of the best superspeedway drivers at the moment, both sitting at plus 850. Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott both sitting at plus 1000. Larson at 1100, trying to get some good luck on these drafting tracks. Denny Hamlin, even though he's starting 37th, still sitting at plus 1200. Austin Cindric 1300, Keselowski 1700, and Christopher Bell and William Byron at 1800 apiece. Finally, Chastain at 2,000, Buescher and Wallace at 22 apiece. A four-way tie between Reddick, Suarez, Briscoe, and Bowman all at 2,500. Stenhouse Jr. at 3,000, and Gibbs and Gilliland both sitting at 3,500. All right, so what can we expect in Atlanta? Well, let's flash forward to what could happen at the end of the race. I believe a precedent was set at the conclusion of the 2024 Daytona 500 when NASCAR elected not to wave the yellow at the end of the race when there was a caution. A crash happened on the back straightaway. NASCAR decided to not throw a yellow flag and let the race end under caution. We saw that happen again last night at the conclusion of the Xfinity Series. Coming to the checkered flag again on the white flag. A crash happened on the back straightaway. Some big hits, but again, NASCAR elected not to throw the caution. As a result of that, the race ended on the green with Austin Hill being the winner. I think that NASCAR set a precedent by saying, okay, if a wreck happens on the back straightaway, and on the back straightaway there are medical team and safety workers right there at the scene, if the crash happens on the back straightaway, the race will go to the finish under green. If it, however, begins in turn 1 or right before turn 1, then NASCAR will have to throw the caution since drivers are going to be coming back around still at relatively full speed. But on the back straightaway, the drivers that will come around to take the checker flag would have time to slow down. So I think that's a precedent that NASCAR is setting. So that is something just to keep in mind as we get into the closing laps of a race. And if on the final lap a caution does come out, depending on where that crash happens, NASCAR will let the race end under green. Okay, now let's talk about what can happen in the race. Well, Atlanta's aging. Atlanta is aging. Take a look at the snapshot here. Atlanta is going away in terms of grip. It's going to age more and more. Something about this Georgia weather or whether the pavement that Atlanta Motor Speedway used to reconfigure this racetrack, but it is aging quickly. This is good. This is going to remind us, especially the whole longtime NASCAR fans, of the old Daytona, of the early 2000s Daytona, where it was more about handling and you couldn't do certain moves because your car couldn't handle so well, unlike Daytona and Talladega, where you could basically move anywhere, do whatever you want, and really not risk any punishment for it. So it's going to be a completely different form of drafting racing. It's not going to be like Daytona and Talladega. The moves are going to be much more methodical. Drivers are going to use their heads a lot more probably. You're going to see much more of the strong contenders stay up front. Drivers like Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, Joe Logano, those drivers, look at the front row drivers, maybe Noah Gragson, Todd Gilliland. Gilliland had a good run at Atlanta last spring, so wouldn't be surprised to see him up towards the front, but it's going to be less chaos, not so much randomness, but still going to be a very entertaining race, I feel like. Now, yes, Ford, they completely shut out basically the top 10. All but one of the top 10 are occupied by Ford drivers. However, if you take a look at the last 6 Atlanta races in terms of drivers that won in this new configuration, the advantage goes to the bow ties. 4 of the 6 were won by Chevrolet. William Byron has won 2 races. Chase Elliott won a race in the summer of 22, like I mentioned. And Daniel Suarez won last fall. The other 2 were Fords, and that were both given to Joey Logano. So the advantage does go to Chevrolet. And if we take a look at the average finish in terms of the best on this new reconfiguration, Ryan Blaney sits at the top at 7.2. Daniel Suarez, though, right behind at 7.3. Chase Elliott at 8.6. Austin Cindric at 12.0. And Ross Chastain at a 12.2. So when you look at the consistency in these last 6 races, you have to look at those Chevy drivers, those Hendrick drivers, specifically William Byron. He is surprisingly really good on these drafting tracks. He's not someone that is up front a lot, doesn't lead a lot, but he's able to put himself in position to capitalize. And obviously a guy like Daniel Suarez, who just seems to always run well here at Atlanta, you cannot rule him out, especially if he's in contention in those closing laps. But we also have to bring up other Chevrolet drivers like Kyle Busch, the man who finished third in that 3-wide finish. Had a great run in the spring of that race, obviously. He knows how to go up front and win these races. He did win here in the truck race earlier this weekend. But regardless, even though the moves are going to be made much more methodically, I don't think you're going to see as many big accidents like what we saw in Daytona. Surely Ryan Preece hopes that's the case. But regardless, we're going to see a fantastic race. I mean, ever since this reconfiguration, and I will be the first to admit, I was extremely skeptical when this was first announced. Every single race the Cup Series has competed on at Atlanta in this new reconfiguration has put on banger after banger after banger. And I see no reason as to why that can't continue here tonight. So I think it's going to be a fantastic race, and I cannot wait to see what happens. We mentioned the Chevrolets, the Fords. The only ones I'm really skeptical about are the Toyotas. The Toyotas, they showed zero speed, unlike what we saw in Daytona, where they showed pace in qualifying. Here, they showed zero speed at all. I mentioned some of the drivers, Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, and Denny Hamlin, all starting outside the top 30. Now, yes, with Atlanta, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. I hope that the Toyota teams set up their cars more for pace, for race trim, and not so much for qualifying, because if not, they're going to be in for a rough day on Sunday. Now let's take a look at my Fantasy Live lineup. I got Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon, and in my garage, Austin Cindric. Why Austin Dillon? Well, again, I feel like Atlanta is going to be that track always where you see one or two drivers that are surprised to be up in the top 10. I feel like Dillon is going to be one of those drivers. He's not too bad on the drafting tracks. I mean, it's not a surprise to see him up front, but I do feel like that it's going to be one or two drivers that you usually expect every Sunday to be in the back of the field. He's going to be one of those drivers to surprise a lot and be up towards the front, maybe lead to the laps and finish in the top 10. But if not, again, I got Cindric in my garage. We know how good he is on these drafting tracks, same as Chase Elliott, a former winner here. Blaney, we know how good he is. Suarez, we know how good he is. And Kyle Busch will find a way to get up towards the front. But as for my pick to win this race, it is coming from these 6 drivers. I got Chase Elliott. I feel like the hometown kid will take home his 2nd win at Atlanta. I just feel like the trend is going to continue. Ford is going to dominate on Saturday, but Chevy will take over on Sunday. And I feel like it's going to be a Hendrick driver being the number 9 of Chase Elliott. But that is my thoughts. What do you think is going to happen in today's Ambetter Health 400 from the Atlanta Motor Speedway? Again, I am super excited. I cannot wait to see what happens. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thanks for watching.